Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Paul Graney. President Trump is calling on the Justice Department to investigate top Democrats' links to Jeffrey Epstein, naming Bill Clinton and Larry Summers. Obamacare premiums about to rise as COVID-era tax subsidies are set to expire in 2 months. Lawmakers now weighing how to address the issue, and President Trump proposing Trump Care. The 2023 Georgia election interference case against President Trump will begin again. Who's the new prosecutor? Is the U.S. facing a skilled labor shortage? The CEO of a major American company says he can't fill 5,000 six-figure positions. ICE is partnering with state and local partners to find hundreds of thousands of unaccompanied children who were smuggled into the United States to find out they are not being exploited. For the first time, the State Department designates 4 European Antifa-linked groups as foreign terrorist organizations. We discuss the significance with an Antifa expert.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
And it's great to have you with us this Friday afternoon. President Trump said in a Truth Social post today that he will ask the Justice Department to investigate prominent Democrats involved with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The request comes after a congressional committee released thousands of documents that raise new questions about Trump's relationship with Epstein. In the post, Trump accused Democrats of focusing on what he calls the Epstein hoax to deflect blame for the government shutdown. He mentioned prominent names such as Bill Clinton, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and J.P. Morgan. In a separate post today, Trump said Epstein was a Democrat and he's the Democrats' problem, not the Republicans' problem. And the 2023 Georgia racketeering indictment case against President Trump and several others for alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results will continue, now in the hands of a new prosecutor. The man responsible for finding a new prosecutor, Peter Skandalakis, assigned himself to the job. Skandalakis is the director of the Prosecuting Attorneys Council of Georgia, a bipartisan group of legal experts from across the state. He's replacing Fonnie Williams, the Fulton County District Attorney, who started the case and was later disqualified for an improper relationship with the lead prosecutor. Skandalakis previously said he could also take the case himself if he could not find another prosecutor to take it on. And millions of Americans are facing higher health insurance premiums. In 2 months, COVID-era tax subsidies for Obamacare are set to expire. Lawmakers now weighing how to address the higher costs. President Trump is proposing Trump Care. NTD's Melina Weiskup has more.
With a freshly reopened government, lawmakers have 2 months to find a path forward on health care. President Trump says he's committed to addressing the issue.
We want a health care system where we pay the money to the people instead of the insurance companies. And I tell you, we're going to be working on that very hard over the next short period of time.
COVID-era tax subsidies, which made Obamacare more affordable, will expire on January 1st.
I expect Republicans to be at the table in the next few weeks. I expect the White House to be at the table. And if they do choose not to come to the table, they can own the disastrous premium increases that will continue to rise.
Senators are expected to vote on an Obamacare extension in December. Bipartisan negotiations are underway.
We have senators, both Democrat and Republican, who are eager to get to work to address that crisis in a bipartisan way. These senators are not interested in political games. They're interested in finding real ways to address health care costs for American families.
While talks look more promising in the Senate, the House shows a stark contrast between the parties.
I'm not going to guarantee a vote on ACA unreformed COVID-era subsidies that is just a boondoggle to insurance companies and robs the taxpayer. We got a lot of work to do on that.
We'll introduce legislation to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for 3 years to make sure that tens of millions of Americans don't experience dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles.
While some moderate Republicans are open to the extensions, many want to reform the program or replace Obamacare altogether.
The healthcare system broke under Obamacare. And as President Trump said, well, I'm not going to repeat his exact words for it, but it's not ideal. And we're going to have to work together to get this fixed because
President Trump is floating an idea he called Trump Care in a Fox News interview earlier this week. It would be health accounts for people to pay for medical issues.
Everybody's going to be happy. They're going to feel like entrepreneurs. They're actually able to go out and negotiate their own health insurance. And they can use it only for that reason. That's the beauty, only for that purpose. And if we did that, that would be so exciting. Call it Trump Care, call it whatever you want to call it. But
Republicans have not yet unveiled concrete legislation. CMS Administrator Mehmet Oz said, "We have lots of great ideas, but I don't want to show our cards." Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
So the federal government is open, but some officials say it's not going to be easy to get everything back to normal. Some furloughed federal workers are returning to hefty to-do lists. Here's a look at some of the challenges they face as they try to catch up.
Some functions of the federal government are getting back online quickly post-shutdown. Others face impediments. The Agriculture Secretary says SNAP benefits should go out by Monday at the latest.
It's moving, it's coming, and for those who really depend on it, good news is on the way.
Officials say certain federal employees should start getting back pay today. Some agencies warn it could take another week to make their staffs whole. Meanwhile, the Smithsonian says it's opening its museums and zoo on a rolling basis starting today. The National Gallery says it'll be fully open by tomorrow. Conservationists say some national parks are dealing with litter and graffiti after operating with skeleton crews. As for air travel, the FAA continues to cut flights as air traffic controllers return to work. But Delta Airlines CEO sounds optimistic.
I think we'll be back a lot faster than people think. Thanksgiving is going to be a great holiday period to travel.
And Vice President J.D. Vance sat down with Sean Hannity and was asked about a potential 2028 presidential run. He said it's not the first thing on his mind right now, but here he is speaking with Fox News.
I really want us to win the midterms because if the Democrats get in power, they're going to try to screw up a lot of the great things the President of the United States has done over the past 10 months. Again, trees that have been planted, some of which won't even bear fruit for a few years. I don't want the Democrats to screw that up. So we're going to win the midterms. We're going to do everything that we can to win the midterms. And then after that, I'm going to sit down with the President of the United States and talk to him about it.
Vance was also asked if he sees Secretary of State Marco Rubio as a future rival for president in 2028. He said that's not something to think about right now, and instead described how close he and Rubio are, and said Rubio acted as a kind of mentor to him when they were in Congress together. Hannity and Vance discussed President Trump's energy and work ethic and how he expects his staff to keep up with him. Vance said Trump has an incredible ability to read people and predict what they might say about an issue. And the U.S. and South Korea have unveiled the framework of a new sweeping trade agreement, one that includes more than $350 billion in planned Korean investments across American shipbuilding and major industrial sectors.
Project selection will be completed by January 2029, when President Trump's term ends. The funds required for project implementation will be paid within 45 business days after receiving notification of the U.S. investment destination selection.
The announcement follows President Trump's October meeting with South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, where the two leaders agreed to cut tariffs on Korean imports from 25% down to 15%. Officials say a new memorandum of understanding outlines dozens of potential projects from shipyards to artificial intelligence and nuclear energy. The deal also opens the door for South Korea to build nuclear-powered submarines and expand fuel processing capabilities. Seoul will phase its cash investments over time to avoid disrupting currency markets. Seoul also pledging to raise defense spending to 3.5% of its GDP. It's becoming the first U.S. ally outside of NATO to meet the standard set by President Trump at the Hague summit. Tariff relief for the Swiss. The White House has released details on its new trade deal. Switzerland's reciprocal tariffs rate will be no higher than 15%, the same as the European Union.
This is a true relief for the Swiss and Geneva economy, which had been unduly damaged by punitive tariffs. So again, a breath of fresh air for the Swiss economy.
The Swiss, as part of their agreement, they've said we are going to have $200 billion in investment, during President Trump's term, starting with about $70 billion investment next year, and it will be in these areas. So Roche, for example, sign of goodwill, has already broken ground on a new facility, pharmaceutical facilities.
The Trump administration has announced a framework on its trade deal with Switzerland and with Liechtenstein. It includes the removal of trade barriers and a pledge by both countries to invest at least $200 billion in the United States. At least a third of that investment will have to happen next year. In an interview, U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer also said that Switzerland has agreed to buy Boeing planes. As for reciprocal tariffs, since August, rates have been at 39%, and this will be slashed to 15%. President Trump vowing to usher in a renaissance in American manufacturing. It's a big reason for his global tariff agenda. And recently, Ford Motor Company's CEO Jim Farley thanked the president, saying the tariffs have leveled the playing field for American manufacturers. But just this week, Farley said he's struggling to find the people to fill the new jobs. He says Ford has 5,000 unfilled job openings that offer a six-figure salary. Joining us now to discuss is Nicole Walter, president of HM Manufacturing. Walter also sits on the board of the National Association of Manufacturing. Nicole, great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Nicole, you of all people have your finger on the pulse of American manufacturing. Is it really the case that one company alone is struggling to fill thousands of jobs with six-figure salaries? That's just incredible.
It's not just one, it's many. I can't tell you. We've been struggling since the COVID era. I know I'm not alone in that, and there's definitely other colleagues and other industries as well that are suffering to find skilled help.
Why, Nicole? Why?
Well, manufacturing is not a sexy job. So I would say since the early 80s, when a lot of those manufacturing jobs went overseas, that didn't help things. And in the early 2000s, that also became a big topic where more jobs were going overseas. So manufacturing became a way of the past. And so not everybody was wanting to get into manufacturing. People were nervous that if they did go into manufacturing, maybe they would be laid off. And so I still think from those times, we're really trying to get manufacturing somewhat back off the ground and making it cool again. And so, besides the fact that you do have automation and you do have robotics and there's a lot more engineers, you actually need machinists to be able to run these types of automation and products and technology. And so we're struggling. We're struggling to find that. We're struggling to get apprentices to want to be in that type of program. And I would say the other issue that we're facing is that because you can't find skilled help, you are having poaching, but the other offset of that too is you're seeing consolidation. So you're seeing other manufacturers purchase smaller businesses with already that skilled force so that they can grow and they can expand because you can't find it elsewhere.
I still find it incredible. Six-figure salaries, Nicole, in this economy and in this environment. We know, to your point, Mike Rowe, he's famous for promoting what he calls dirty jobs, especially in the age of AI. Are there people coming to your company or other manufacturers looking for that change in career or a dirty job that they wouldn't have gone for before?
No, not yet. I mean, we're really trying. We go after the high schools a lot, and we're trying to make their manufacturing programs a little bit more robust in that high school level. We're actively working with your community colleges as well, but not everybody wants to do that, not even with six figures, just because it is a lot of work and it does require a lot of high skills. So when you can go on TikTok and you can get on that creator fund and it's super easy to swipe and scroll and get paid by that, you're seeing more and more people want to do that versus want to actually create a career in manufacturing. So I would say a lot of my industry friends were doing what we can to try to make it cool and popular, to almost like you can be a creator and be a TikTok star by showcasing the type of products you're making, but we're still not there yet.
Well, Nicole, I think you got to get out there and start making TikTok videos yourself. You can inspire a few people to come on board. But this is a big part. This seems like a big a challenge and hurdle for Trump's vision for American manufacturing. Are you confident that these problems will be solved and we'll see that manufacturing revival here in the States?
I'm going to say it's going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, it is costly to bring on new employees, to create a program where you have apprenticeships. I know he signed an executive order back in April about trying to get more people back into the manufacturing sphere, but it's not going to be a year or 2 year or 3 year ordeal. It's going to take 10, 15 years to try to get the momentum going. So besides having the funds available to be able to do that, we as manufacturers have to go out and promote it as much as we can. In the meantime, though, which is a little bit scary, is because we're not getting the people that want to come into these types of fields, we are having to do more and more automation. So we have been seeing more robotics. We have been seeing things where before you would need a person to, let's say, take a set screw out of a boring bar to be able to put it back into the machine. Now you're seeing automation where that is now a complete turn service, where you're seeing another robotic arm go into the machine and take that piece out where it would require a person. So we have to be very cognizant about not taking away all the jobs, but we're only limited to what we can. So if we're not getting the people in manufacturing, we do have to use this type of technology to keep manufacturing going. So it is one set of problems after another. So we're really hopeful. I think the tariffs, I know you were mentioning in the other segment, that's helpful. And we're seeing more and more reshoring and getting people excited about manufacturing. So here's hoping that that continues.
It's fascinating. Nicole, how is the Trump administration's immigration policy affecting American manufacturers?
I would say it's hurting it a little bit. It just depends on what side of manufacturing you're on. So if you're more on the food and beverage side, you're kind of getting hit a little bit of ag as well. We're in aerospace and defense, so not at all, just because you have to be a U.S. citizen to be able to produce those products, especially for the DoD. So it just really depends on where you lie in the manufacturing sector.
Interesting. Nicole Walter, HM Manufacturing. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
And still to come, a new initiative for ICE. They are working to find some 450,000 unaccompanied children they say the Biden administration either lost or placed with unvetted sponsors.
A performance that truly matters for each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. Shen Yun. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I am living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're going to benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
Come to Mathis Home today and save with Black Friday deals all over the store. They have the largest selection of bedrooms in the styles you like at the prices you'll love. This metal bed with a matte black finish is a classic with a modern flair. Black Friday priced at just $2.99. Check out this upholstered bed covered in an ultra plush fabric. It's a hot buy at just $2.99. They're all in stock now, so you can get fast delivery absolutely free. For style and value, shop the Black Friday deals at your furniture superstore, Mathis Home.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. ICE has launched a new initiative to locate and verify the safety of unaccompanied children who've entered the United States. The Department of Homeland Security unveiled its new program called the Unaccompanied Children Safety Verification Initiative. The department says under the Biden administration, 450,000 unaccompanied children were illegally smuggled into the United States and were placed with unvetted sponsors or were lost. ICE has partnered with state and local law enforcement agencies to conduct welfare checks on these children to ensure they are safe and not being exploited. The Trump administration says so far it has found more than 24,000 of these children in person. The program began this week in Florida and will be rolled out to other partners across the country. We'll keep you updated. And a federal appeals court has put on hold the Transportation Department's new restrictions that would severely limit which immigrants can get commercial driver's licenses to drive a semi-trailer truck or bus. The court in the District of Columbia said the federal government didn't follow proper procedure in drafting the rule and failed to articulate a satisfactory explanation for how the rule would promote safety. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced the new rule in September after a truck driver not authorized to be in the United States made an illegal U-turn and caused a crash in Florida that killed 3 people. And another case of a federal judge squaring off against the Trump administration, a judge ruled yesterday that hundreds of illegal immigrants held by ICE in Illinois must be released on bond. District Judge Jeffrey Cummings issued the ruling in response to a lawsuit filed by the National Immigrant Justice Center and the American Civil Liberties Union. More than 3,000 illegal immigrants were arrested between June and October, and the ruling states that 615 of them were not subject to mandatory detention. The DHS argued that all of those detained fell under mandatory detention, but the judge rejected this argument. He ordered DHS to release all those not deemed a, quote, high public safety risk on a $1,500 bond by next week. Again, keep you updated. And from major takedowns to rewarding loyal employees, it was an eventful week for the Department of Homeland Security. NTD's Daniel Monahan has a closer look, including a sting that nabbed more than 150 alleged sex offenders.
Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem awarded checks to 24 TSA agents at Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport.
What I'm so proud of, though, today, and what I'm here talking about today, is the outstanding patriotism and service of our TSA officers and officials that stepped up every single day.
Noem says the payments recognize employees who went above and beyond while working without pay during the shutdown.
For stepping up, taking on extra shifts, for showing up each and every day, for serving the American people.
Secretary Noem said the department will continue awarding bonuses to TSA employees who showed exemplary performance. From the friendly skies to the criminal underworld, Noem also praised DHS law enforcement officers for what she called heroic arrests during the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Those arrested included Victor Manuel Mendoza Garcia, an illegal immigrant from Mexico, convicted of 3 counts of aggravated kidnapping and ransom in Cook County, Illinois, and William Giovanni Lopez Fuentes, an illegal immigrant from Guatemala, convicted of assault of a child in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, in a major bust, DHS announced the arrest of more than 150 sex offenders who are illegal immigrants.
Noem commented on the operation during an interview on Fox News.
These individuals should have never been in our country to begin with. The fact that they were sexual deviants and perverts, and now we've gotten them off of our streets, it's remarkable, and we need to do more of it.
The operation targeted child predators, rapists, and violent offenders with convictions ranging from sexual assault of minors and child exploitation to rape and attempted homicide. In total, more than 230 criminal illegal immigrants were arrested. Noem didn't hide her feelings about those crimes.
This operation was called Operation Criminal Return. I call it Operation Dirtbag because these individuals were sex offenders, but not just sex offenders, they targeted children.
And DHS also uncovered alleged crimes at the ballot box. The department released new voting records tied to Jose Ceballos Armendariz, a 54-year-old Mexican immigrant accused of voting illegally in multiple Kansas elections. He faces felony charges including 3 counts of voting without being qualified and 3 counts of election perjury. Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin says President Trump and Secretary Noem granted states access to the Systematic Alien Verification for Entitlements program, known as SAVE, to help confirm voter eligibility. McLaughlin says SAVE is a critical tool for state and local governments to safeguard election integrity. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says the U.S. is launching a new military operation targeting what he calls narco-terrorists in the Western Hemisphere. Hegseth announced Operation Southern Spear in a post on X yesterday, saying it follows an order from President Trump. The operation will be led by the new Joint Task Force Southern Spear, likely working alongside U.S. Southern Command. Hegseth did not outline immediate steps, but says the mission is meant to combat domestic threats in the United States. The rollout comes as the U.S. forces expand anti-drug operations in the region, including strikes on suspected smuggling vehicles. And the U.S. is dropping a plan to require passenger compensation for delayed flights. The Department of Transportation made the announcement earlier today. In December of last year, the Transportation Department under the Biden administration proposed the idea of mandatory compensations. Airlines would have had to pay up to $300 for domestic delays of at least 3 hours and almost $800 for longer delays. Today, though, the Department of Transportation announced the plan won't move forward, saying it would result in unnecessary regulatory burdens. Airlines in the U.S. must refund passengers for canceled flights, but are not required to compensate customers for delays. The European Union, Canada, Brazil, and Britain all have airline delay compensation rules, but no large U.S. airline currently guarantees cash compensation for significant flight disruption. And a fast-moving wildfire in a California county near the Nevada border damaged 15 structures yesterday and forced people to evacuate. Part of a highway closed as firefighters battled the flames in strong winds. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection said the Pack Fire in Mono County grew to about 5.3 square miles last night and was burning without any containment. The rural county is located between the Sierra Nevada and Nevada state line. The fire started just before 12:30 p.m. and spread to more than 1,000 acres in less than 90 minutes. It was whipped up by gusts as strong as 50 miles per hour that temporarily grounded emergency aircraft. Part of Highway 395 was temporarily closed, and it was unclear whether any homes had been destroyed. By evening, the fire had slowed down because of rain in the area. The cause of the fire is now under investigation. And 2 Republican senators held a congressional field hearing in Pacific Palisades, California, listening to victims of the January 7th wildfire. The hearing, which focused on government response and insurance challenges, came nearly 10 months after the fire devastated the community. NTD's Christina Corona has more.
On Thursday, Senators Rick Scott and Ron Johnson led a field hearing in California on the aftermath of the Palisades fire. The January 7th blaze caused billions in property damage and claimed 12 lives.
I believe the Palisades fire was more than just a horrific tragedy. It was an unacceptable failure of government to protect the lives and property of its citizens. And we all know that this fire hurt our seniors more than anyone else.
Survivors and local leaders say their concerns have not yet been fully addressed.
On the day of the Pacific Palisades fire, reservoirs were empty. Fire hydrants went dry, and innocent people, including many vulnerable seniors, perished, while thousands more lost their homes, businesses, and everything they owned.
Lawmakers heard from residents and business owners to examine gaps in government response and preparedness. One resident said the fire department told him why they couldn't save his home.
John, we couldn't have saved your house or the block or the area. Our hydrants weren't working, and each truck holds 500 gallons of water. He said 500 gallons of water doesn't go very far.
He said guards and residents were using water from swimming pools, doing everything they could to put out sparks as the fire spread. Another resident said she never received alerts to evacuate. She stayed behind making calls through the night to help seniors and others at risk.
Seniors with mobility issues, those dependent on oxygen, residents with dementia who needed assistance. They all lost precious hours because of inadequate warnings.
Palisades resident Bruce Schwartz said State Farm dropped his insurance in October 2024. Just 76 days later, 17 of the 25 homes in his community burned down.
We were so severely underinsured that rebuilding required an affirmative vote of 75% of our homeowners.
He said the vote failed because some homeowners whose property survived refused to fund rebuilding for those who lost everything.
So now we have no home and no right even to rebuild one. To make matters worse, some of my neighbors will be forced to surrender their home to their lenders.
Other residents were dropped by their insurance after the fire.
Lots of residents found out after the fire that their policies had been dropped, and I was one of them.
Afterwards?
After the fire.
While nothing can undo the damage done by the Pacific Palisades fire, I am committed to advocating for the victims, their families, and this community to get answers and make sure this never happens anywhere in our great country ever again.
On Thursday, Los Angeles County announced they've launched an investigation into State Farm's handling of the Palisades and Eaton fire claims, focusing on potential violations of California's unfair competition law. This comes after complaints of delays, underpayments, and denied claims. Christina Corona, NTD News.
And State Farm responded to the investigation by Los Angeles County in a statement to the media. The company said it's there to help its customers recover, and it empathizes with those who are rebuilding their lives, adding, quote, "Our focus continues to be on supporting our customers in their recovery from the largest fire event we have ever experienced." And for the first time, the State Department has designated 4 European Antifa-linked groups as foreign terrorist organizations. We discussed the significance of this with an Antifa expert.
This is Pho-licious. Now, what is pho? It's an authentic Vietnamese noodle dish. Pho-licious chicken pho brings the comforting, aromatic flavors of Vietnam to your bowl. And Mama Thu's signature spice blend. Well, this chicken pho is as close to homemade as it gets without the wait. Some cubed chicken, a little lime, and then the magic moment. See you soon, my friends.
Pho-licious is now available at your local Walmart or walmart.com.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers. He connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter
is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox. That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. 4 European Antifa-linked organizations are now labeled as foreign terrorist organizations by the United States. Joining us now to discuss is Kyle Scheidler, Director and Senior Analyst for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism at the Center for Security Policy and the editor of Unmasking Antifa, 5 Perspectives on a Growing Threat. Kyle, great to have you on. Thanks so much. Why has the United States singled out these 4 European Antifa groups specifically?
Well, they are deliberately targeting groups that have a known track record of significant political violence. Antifa Ost is well known for attacking its political opponents with hammers. The Italian anarchist group has conducted a number of attacks, as have the 2 Greek groups. So these are groups that have Antifa links. They're known as anti-fascist groups, and they conduct attacks that meet that standard of terrorism. The advantage of doing this is they are helping establish the record that Antifa engages in terrorism, that they do so abroad. And this will then help them as they continue to pursue secondary sanctions.
Well, Kyle, attacking political opponents with hammers, shocking as it may be, what's the justification for grouping them with terrorist organizations like ISIS or Al-Qaeda or Hezbollah?
Well, for purposes of our laws, what matters is not necessarily whether it's a bombing or a shooting or a hijacking. What matters is that it's violence intended to politically intimidate. And that is clearly the case here. So that is helping to establish that this is really what Antifa is all about. It is about using violence to intimidate for political purpose, and that is terrorism.
The U.S. has launched actual kinetic wars against terrorist groups. What actions are they likely to take here, though?
Oh, this is certainly not a case where we're going to see drone strikes against Antifa members in Germany or anarchists in Italy or Greece. What we're talking about here is sanctions, and particularly targeting those organizations and networks, individuals who provide resources to these groups. So there's a large network that provides technologically sophisticated tools to Antifa groups, everything from encrypted email and phone apps to website hosting to blogs and the like. There's also very expansive networks that provide all manner of propaganda support, hosting communiques, providing information about tactics and techniques that Antifa groups can use to commit violence. So these are the kinds of groups and networks that will now become vulnerable to secondary sanctions now that we have some Antifa groups on the state terrorism designation list.
What connections do these groups or influence do these groups have over what's happening here in the United States, either with domestic Antifa groups or otherwise?
Well, they have a couple of different connections. One, there are examples of foreign Antifa members coming to the United States to conduct actions. There were foreign members of Antifa who were present, for example, in the Defend Atlanta Forest Stop Cop City event the state of Georgia has now charged some 60 people with domestic terrorism coming out of those riots and other violence. They also provide instructions and techniques for American Antifa members. A lot of what we see happen on the streets of the United States happened first in Europe, whether that's, for example, the targeting of Tesla dealerships and Tesla vehicles for fire bombings. That's a technique that was first originated by Antifa members targeting Elon Musk and his Tesla company in Europe. So a lot of what happens in Europe eventually finds its way to the United States. And again, as I said earlier, a lot of these groups share those same support structures. So the same blogs and networks that are hosting the communiques of some of these designated groups are also hosting the materials for U.S. Antifa groups as well. So there are those connections as well. And that's what the State Department is attempting to establish.
On that point, President Trump has floated the idea of using racketeering charges to go after left-wing organizations or left-wing groups that promote violence. Is there any connection between this latest designation and that idea of racketeering charges?
Well, a racketeering charge is a domestic criminal statute primarily aimed at organized crime. There are certainly activities that Antifa groups engage in that might meet that standard, particularly when it comes to the way money is moved, so money laundering issues, the abuse of charity fraud and tax-deductible donations. Those kinds of things would certainly open themselves up to a RICO statute, but it can be challenging. You know, RICO was designed to track money coming from lower-level criminal deals up to a kingpin at the top. And in this case, what you're talking about is money being pushed from the top to the bottom, which is a little bit more distributed and a little bit more difficult to follow. I think it can be done. There are some interesting efforts right now in Congress to make this a little bit easier on law enforcement. Senator Ted Cruz has his Stop Funders Act to include felony federal rioting amongst RICO charges, for example. So there are some interesting opportunities taking place.
Finally, Kyle, we know that the president has already designated Antifa as a domestic terrorist group here in the United States. Has anything significant come out of that yet?
Well, as I've had to explain to people, unfortunately, technically, there is no such thing as a domestic terrorist organization list. Designating an organization as a domestic terrorist organization does not actually confer any statutory authority. So federal law enforcement gained no new powers or capabilities because of the president's declaration. But what I think he was attempting to do by making that statement was to make clear to federal law enforcement that he views this as a national security priority and that he wants to see them use all available powers to address this threat.
It's quite the issue. Kyle Scheidler, appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the BBC has apologized to President Trump over a documentary that selectively edited a clip of his January 6, 2021 speech. The edit spliced together parts of the speech that were nearly 1 hour apart, giving the impression that Trump had called for violence. The documentary was aired in the run-up to the 2024 election. And while the BBC has now retracted the documentary and apologized, Trump's legal team is also calling for compensation, which the BBC is refusing to pay. Entd's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson brings us more on the story.
The British Broadcasting Corporation, or BBC, sent a personal apology to President Trump on Thursday, but said they believe there is no legal basis for Trump to sue the public broadcaster over a documentary Trump's lawyers called defamatory. The BBC edit created the false impression that Trump had called for violence ahead of the January 6th Capitol breach. Speaking to the BBC, British Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy said it is right the BBC apologised.
I am confident that they've already started the work to get not just the right processes in place to make sure this doesn't happen again and get consistency across the board, but also to get the right mix of experience at the top of the organisation to make sure that those high journalistic standards are well understood at the top of the organisation and are upheld.
Last Sunday, Trump's lawyers threatened to sue the BBC for damages of up to $1 billion. unless it withdrew the documentary, apologized to the president, and compensated him for financial and reputational harm. The BBC said the splicing of the speech was a, quote, error of judgment. It has withdrawn the documentary and apologized, but is refusing to pay compensation, and is now waiting for Trump's response to their apology. The BBC's Panorama news program ran a documentary where they spliced together two parts of Trump's speech on January 6, 2021. It aired just before the US presidential election in 2024. The edit changed the meaning of the speech, creating the impression Trump had explicitly called for violence.
They played the following clip.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell.
But here is what Trump really said.
Right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
Trump said fight like hell 54 minutes later in a separate part of his speech, and in a different context. On Thursday, the Telegraph newspaper reported the BBC also doctored the same speech in a similar way in 2022, more than 2 years before the Panorama edit aired. Trump's legal team said this shows a pattern of defamation against Trump. Responding to the fresh claims, a BBC spokesperson said the BBC holds itself to the highest editorial standards and is now looking at the matter. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on Thursday said the BBC's edits are a clear example of fake news.
The president has made it very clear that this is a leftist propaganda machine that is unfortunately subsidized by British taxpayers, and he thinks that's extremely unfortunate for the great people of the United Kingdom and Great Britain.
The BBC has been thrown into its biggest crisis in decades amid allegations of bias, including on the edit of Trump's speech. The claims came to light because of a leaked report by a BBC standards official. 2 senior executives have since resigned. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News, UK.
And 10 years ago today, France faced its deadliest terrorist attack. And in Paris yesterday, families, survivors, and officials gathered across the city to honor the 132 victims. The ceremonies revived memories of a night that reshaped the country. Entd international correspondent David Vivez reports from Paris.
People behind me are lining up to attend a major commemoration at the City Hall. Families and relatives have been invited to the opening of a square dedicated to the memory of those who died. 132 people were killed in the attacks, making it the deadliest terrorist attacks ever to occur in the country.
The terrorists found people much braver than themselves. Paris stood firm. You stood firm. France stood firm.
La France a tenu.
This memorial garden will be a place where all the victims who lost their lives on November 13th will be identified. But it will also be a place where survivors can gather, a place for both walking and reflection. It will be a place where life is reborn each spring.
9 ISIS gunmen and suicide bombers struck within minutes of one another at several locations in the deadliest violence to strike France since World War II. They targeted fans at the Stade de France stadium and café-goers, and ending with a bloodbath in the Bataclan. More than 130 people were killed and over 140 were wounded. A decade later, the weight of that night remains deeply personal for many who call Paris home. Crowds gathered across the city, including at Republic Plaza, where Parisians were invited to light candles, flowers, and handwritten notes throughout the week. Many French see these attacks as an assault on their way of life.
It's a way to pay tribute by going to the theater tonight. It's a way to keep living and thinking about all those people who, because they went to a show, because they went to see something on a terrace, left this world.
It's a wound that is still open. For the last 10 years, we've been saying there was a before and an after. But what comes after? Have actions been taken to ensure it doesn't happen again? I'm not sure. The threat is still there.
As night fell, the Eiffel Tower lit up in blue, white, and red, the colors of the French flag. Church bells rang across the capital as the ceremony began, including those of Notre Dame Cathedral. Emergency workers, city staff, and volunteers took turns reading the full list of 132 recognized victims. David Vives, NTD News, Paris.
And still to come, London's famous Kew Gardens dazzles with festive preparations. They're gearing up to open a nighttime trail as part of their Christmas celebrations. With that and more after the break.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9. The highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. Police in Atlanta say a group of brave civilians saved the life of one of their officers. Last month, Atlanta police officer Malik Safai was responding to a call for backup when his patrol vehicle crashed and burst into flames. This police body cam video shows the residents in the area who sprung into action. They broke a window, pulled Officer Safai from the burning cruiser, and used his radio to call for help. Then they had to move the officer again when witnesses say his gun, which was inside the burning vehicle, started firing. The police department, in a Facebook post, thanked the residents involved for what it called their extraordinary courage. Well done. And London's Kew Gardens is getting ready to sparkle for the holiday season. An enchanting nighttime trail will bring the gardens to life with color, sound, and shimmering displays. Here's a closer look.
The display includes a light show on Temperate House, various light installations, a dance floor, and an orchestra made of lights illuminating the after-dark landscape of the gardens.
This year we've got 8 world-exclusive installations as part of the event. That includes bespoke things like the Palm House show behind me. We've put a bridge over the Palm House pond. We have an orchestra made of lights. We've got blooms blowing in the air. mycelium networks reaching out from under tree trunks. I think one of the things I like about Christmas at Kew is that it has very gentle moments, like the one behind me, which is very contemplative, but there's also really fun and jazzy bits. So we've got a dance floor. We're encouraging people to dance along with giant headphones. But I think if I had to pick a favorite, the mycelium network is really beautiful. It kind of explores the network underground between mushrooms. Just feels so fitting at Kew, so, the home of the fungarium.
Now in its 13th year, Christmas at Kew began as an initiative to attract guests at a traditionally quiet time for the gardens.
And what was once the quietest time of year at Kew is now one of the busiest. We have more than 300,000 people that are going to be coming over the next 49 nights to see this amazing show.
Christmas at Kew opens to the public today and runs until Sunday, January 4th, 2026.
The Shenyun Performing Arts has dazzled audiences worldwide with the extraordinary skill and grace of its classical Chinese dancers. Now, for a limited time, viewers have a rare chance to see what makes the performances so breathtaking in a special Mid-Autumn Festival Technique Showcase premiering November 15th on the video platform Ganjing World. Here's an early look. Watch the exclusive premiere on November 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern on Ganjing World. And still to come, Purdue Pharma might have to pay billions to settle thousands of lawsuits over the toll of opioids. We have that and more after the break.
Don't wait. Call now to find out about our Medicare plan.
Why do we have to sit through so many Medicare commercials this time of year? It's endless.
Good question, Edith. I'm glad you asked. We see so many commercials this time of year because it's the only time, other than special circumstances, when Medicare recipients can change their plan for Part C. Original Medicare only covers Parts A and B, but a Medicare Advantage plan has additional benefits that Original Medicare doesn't offer.
So now's the time to fill those spaces?
That's right, Archie. And every year, there are changes to what benefits you may receive from your Part C plan. Call right now to find out what plan best suits your needs.
It's easy, easy, don't delay. Pick up the phone and call today.
Call now for your free Medicare review.
1-833-469-1754. 1-833-469-1754.
You may now return to your regularly scheduled programming.
大提琴不仅仅是一件乐器，它是有生命、有感情的，需要我们精心的照顾。往往我们一个小小的动作，可能都会对人情绪产生微妙的影响。天音的品牌是福星，我们对于传统的理念很荣幸被神韵艺术团选为指定供应商。时间是酿造音色的不可替代的陪伴。我跟大提琴已经有60多年的友情了，每一把琴都有它自己的个性，熟悉它，才能真正发挥它的潜力。 所以我希望给你的每一把琴，都是首先我所信任的。